guys, welcome to the Firearm Patriot channel. I'm Russ, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a new trigger kit from Apex Tactical for the CZ P10C. Now, I didn't have one of these guns prior to this review, so I borrowed it from a good buddy named Eddie. And Eddie, I want to give you a shout out for loaning this gun to me. Now, Eddie apparently was already a Apex Tactical fan. He has the Apex extended slide stop and also the extended magazine release on this pistol when he gave it to me. I had never actually shot a CZ P10C. I've shot in other CZs, the Shadow 2, the Checkmate, some of their higher end guns, and I've been always impressed with the CZ. I love their ergonomics, and this particular gun is no different. It feels really good in your hand, and also I was impressed with the stock trigger. In fact, I think it's probably one of the best striker fired stock triggers out there. You know, Canic has a really good trigger, Steyr Arms has a really good trigger, but this is probably, you know, certainly I think it's above the Glock, the M&P, the FN509. I really like, you know, has minimal uptake on it, has a very clean break and an excellent reset. And, you know, I'm measuring weight-wise somewhere around 5.5 pounds, sometimes a little less, closer to 5 on the pull weight. So not a bad trigger in the stock form. So really the question for this video is going to be, is this $104.95 trigger kit worth putting in an already good stock trigger? So again, we'll see on that. So let's go ahead and take a little bit closer look at the trigger, the pull on it, and also what you get in the kit, and then we'll go ahead and install it, and we'll go ahead and take it out to the range and shoot it, and I'll give you my impressions on it. So let's get to it. Okay guys, let's go ahead and show you the gun's safe. There's no magazine in here. Chamber is clear, so we're dealing with a safe gun. So let's go ahead and take a look at what you're going to get in the kit. First of all, you're going to get this flat-faced aluminum trigger. It seems to be very well milled, no burrs or anything like that on it. Always good quality from Apex. You have a safety blade here in the center, and that does go flush against the trigger itself, so that's going to be, should be very comfortable to shoot. It's also much wider than the stock trigger. The stock trigger's rounded. Kind of see that. The safety blade does go all the way inside, unlike the Glocks, but it is also serrated where there's no serrations on the Apex trigger. You get a back plate for the slide. Now this is going to work in conjunction with the disconnector that Apex sends you. Again, very nicely done, finished, milled part. And here is the disconnector that's going to go in the pistol. So let's go ahead and take a look at the trigger. Again, I think it's one of the better triggers in a striker fired pistol. There is some grit in the take-up, and there's quite a bit of take-up. Now this kit's not going to change that take-up, but here it is. So we get back here, you get a very defined wall. That's your break. Reset. Very short. One of the reasons why I think it's one of the better triggers out there, but it is a little heavy. You know, we're looking at trigger weight right at 5.5 pounds, so let's go ahead and see where we get with that. Using a Lyman trigger gauge. This thing's about 11 years old. Back when I started doing reviews back in 2010. Alright, 5 pounds 6 ounces. £5 12 ounces. Again, sometimes it's hard to get good trigger pulls on the triggers, particularly if they're curved like this. £4 10 ounces. So on average, 5 pounds 4 ounces, which is very similar to what I've been getting. So if you just want to put the trigger in the kit, you can do that. That's kind of the trigger weight you're going to have if you only use the trigger and not the disconnector and the base plate. But we're going to go ahead and install the full trigger kit in there. We want to see the maximum performance that we can get out of the Apex trigger. Now, again, as I said time and time again in other videos, Apex really is a safety conscious company. They drop test all their firearms that they put trigger kits in while they're designing it to make sure it's safe for you, the consumer. So I've got some video of that. I'm going to go ahead and run that while I'm installing this trigger, and we're going to come back, check the trigger out, take it out to the range, and hopefully we'll see the improvement that Apex talks about. Okay guys, we're back on the range now after installing the CZ P10 Apex trigger kit. I've been very impressed with it so far. It took me about 30 minutes to install it. I watched the Apex video on that on their website, so go there and check that out. A couple things you need to know. You do need to check once you get it apart your trigger bar. They recommend you using a 19 or above trigger bar on this. The trigger bars are labeled with numbers. I think it's 16, 17, 18, 19, and then there is also a trigger bar that has no number on it, and that is also a current trigger bar. Now this particular trigger bar in this was an actual 18, so I went ahead and did it, and so far I was pretty happy with the result. If you want to order a trigger bar, I think they're out of stock right now at CZ, but they're going to cost you about 35 bucks. That's probably why Apex has a $104.95 price tag on this trigger, because usually their trigger is going to run you somewhere around $150. So I think that's one of the reasons, but I really like the fact that this is a flat trigger. Go ahead and safety check it. There's no magazine in here, but the trigger is just very comfortable. I like where it breaks at. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you. You know, the uptake is pretty much the same, and of course they don't advertise that there's any change in that. You do hit a wall. You have a very light break. We'll do some trigger pulls here, but the trigger break is substantially lighter than the stock. It's a little smoother. You can hear it. So you can see that there. Not as quite as loud as the stock trigger. Not as gritty. Again, very smooth, kind of a rolling break, and quick reset there, so not bad at all. Let's go ahead and do some trigger pulls on it. We're getting a little bit over 5 pounds on the stock trigger, so let's see what we get on this one. Gun's a little bit hot. I've been shooting it on some plate racks and also Texas Star, and we'll run some video of that. Alright, 2 pounds, 10.8 ounces. Three pounds, 2.7 ounces. 2 pounds 10 ounces. Very consistent, and I am doing it in the middle of the shoe. 2 pounds 12 ounces. So, you know, the question was originally, is this trigger worth the upgrade? To get that kind of a reduction in the pull, I think it is. I don't have a problem with carrying the trigger. You still have a good wall there, but then it's very smooth. And it's really going to do good for long distance shooting as well as shooting on the move. I find that's where a really good trigger really comes in handy on a pistol. And so, you know, do you have to upgrade it for it to be a good self-defensive weapon? Certainly not. But this is a much more pleasing trigger to shoot, and it's also going to help you again on accurate shots as well as shooting on the move. So been very impressed with it. Again, Apex hits a home run with this trigger, I think, and it's very, I'll tell you what's very much like, if you've shot one of these new Timney Glock triggers, it's a lot like that. You've got that take up and you got a little wall, and then you have a very light break. But now the reset on the CZ is much better than on even the Timney trigger, in my opinion. So that's the kind of trigger class-wise that you're looking at for this CZ P10. So if you're a competition shooter, you want to put it in the P10F or shoot this, or, you know, I personally, I would feel comfortable carrying it, and everybody would feel comfortable carrying this trigger, but I wouldn't necessarily have any kind of issues with it. So from that being said, this is the Firearm Patriot. Till next time, God bless America.